Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Amy Grelick.
And I'm Todd Grelick. We are with FC Tucson Oro Valley right now.
Yeah, so we're here tonight. Todd and I have coached a lot of teams. Well, we've been a part of FC Tucson TSA for the last 10 years. This is our 10th year being a part of FC Tucson. And we had the pleasure of, have had the pleasure of coaching a lot of teams. We've coached the 95s, the 96s, the 97s, the 01s, the 02s. Todd has the 05 boys up in Oro Valley, and I have the 09 and 10 girls up in Oro Valley. So yeah, we've been a part of this program for a really long time. We love FC Tucson, and we made a really special connection with our first team that we coached here with TSA FC Tucson, and that was the 95s. We took them over in 2010 from Dave Cosgrove. So all the girls loved us after Cosgrove, because anyone that's played for Cos understands that. And so we had the 95s. Madi Kinzer, who we're interviewing today, tonight, was one of our players. She was our center back, played for us for 3 years. And we had a lot of really amazing players on that 95 team. And Madi just happened to be one of them. And so we get to visit with Madi tonight. Our 95 team, and Madi, I don't know if you're going to talk a little bit about this, but our 95 team was very good, ranked extremely high nationally. We were in the top 10 nationally for a couple years, played in the regional semifinals, excuse me. I should have Todd give all the stats. What else was I going to say? We won 2 state championships with them. Our first state championship with the 95s, we played Del Sol, and this was before ECNL and the DA, and you had to play all the powerhouses in Arizona, and we played Del Sol in the finals, and it was an amazing game. We were down 1-0 and ended up coming back and winning 2-1. And Madi, excuse me. Todd said it was 4-1. I don't know. Clearly, I should not do the stats. It's a win, and so I don't care. All I remember is one of our players, Priscilla Pimenta, had a diving header. So that's all really I care about. So that's a little bit of background of us and why we're on here. So Madi, do you want to give a little bit of background about you and how you became a part of our program? And then we'll get into some questions.
Okay. I don't know if I know a lot of you guys, but I'm Madi Kinzer. Hi. Grew up in Tucson, played for Tucson Soccer Academy originally, and then went to college at University of Oklahoma and University of Washington, and continued to play for FC Tucson semi-pro throughout that time. And then after that, now I am a personal. Ooh. You guys all hear that?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oops, my fault. Now I am a personal soccer coach. So that's what I do for my career now, is a personal trainer. And yeah, I have a lot to talk about, a lot of memories to share with you guys, a lot of experiences to share with you guys. So yeah.
Perfect, good deal. So, that was my first question was, how are you connected to TSA and FC Tucson? So you talked a little bit about that. What year did you start playing for TSA?
Oh boy, year specifically, I was in 6th grade. So whatever year that was. Yeah, I think that's what changed my whole career in soccer, is playing for Tucson Soccer Academy. Because I tried out for Rush, didn't make Rush, and I think that's kind of what sparked everything right from there. Is like using that as a power on like my back to motivate me, and then was with Tucson Soccer Academy through all the way into my senior year. After that, stay committed to that team. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think kind of to follow up on that. So when did you decide to make that commitment to be the best player you could be, and what kind of was that defining moment, if you remember what that moment was that made you think, okay, because again, you're a tremendous player, an amazing athlete, one of the hardest working athletes and players I think that's come out of Tucson. And in so many ways, you were just different in how you played the game and how you worked and prepared for the game. So was there a defining moment or something that you felt like, okay, I can do this and I want to do this?
Yeah, it definitely started. I talked to my dad about this today. It definitely started with not making the other club that was in Tucson. And I was like, I'm just going to prove everyone wrong. And that's kind of where it's like, that's what took me to where I was, is just proving people wrong and knowing that I'm capable of anything I want to do.
And you said that you were in sixth grade, so probably end of sixth grade, going into seventh grade when that happened.
It was going into sixth grade is when I first started with TSA.
All right. And
Yeah.
so just so you guys that are here watching that are younger, a lot of clubs have come through Tucson. I mean, Madi is only a few years removed from being in youth soccer. And she's talking about clubs that you guys most of you haven't heard about. So
yeah.
no, and that's okay, because part of why FC Tucson is so good is their longevity. Is we've been around for 20 years, and we're going to be around for 20 more years. And just the legacy that we have with the players that have come through, like you.
Well, I think that point too that you made is important if you want to, talk more about that. But you didn't make the team that you wanted to make, and sometimes players would look at that and as failure and just walk away and maybe not have that commitment, dedication. So it speaks a lot about you as a player and as a person, that in a time where you could have just, gone in a different direction and even played another sport, that you stuck with it and said, I am going to prove people wrong.
Oh yeah. And it took me all the way through college too, because it was the Tucson. I mean, I don't want anyone who's on this FaceTime or the Zoom call to ever think that because you're in Tucson, you can't make it big. That was a huge thing for me, that like in my head, I was like, I'm going to make it big. Like, these are my dreams. These are my aspirations. And then there were people here and there. They're like, you're just a Tucson player. Like, you're not ever going to make it D2, D3 schools. And I was like, nope. And just made it happen based off of that, honestly.
And I think the pictures that are running in the background show that you have done a lot of great things in the game, because you didn't quit, you didn't give up when you could have, when you faced that adversity. So congratulations to you for keeping that wit about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having athletes having an edge. Madi definitely had like a chip on her shoulder, that she was going to prove every single person, every ODP coach, every college coach that overlooked her, to just prove that she was here and she was the real deal. And I think that, like you said, that got you through your college. But it really helped tremendously, at least as your coach, being able to see that and see you persevere. And it was really fun and really fun to coach you, because you were inspiring when you played.
Oh. Yeah. Even like, so for anyone who's sitting on the bench right now, I think it's huge to use that as motivation. Like, that's kind of a good spot to be in, because you have motivation now. You're not just already on the field, or if you are on the field, keep your spot on the field. But it's always, use it as motivation. Don't use it to let you like stop playing, or to make you stop playing, or to lose your dreams of playing either.
So we'll come back to that point that you just talked about of being on the bench, because I think that's an interesting dynamic that you had in your college career. So let's talk about your, like, how did you choose this college? Like, coming out of Tucson, a lot of kids, hear, oh, it's just a small town, it's just Tucson soccer. How did you choose a college? What did your path look like?
So I wanted to go to the biggest, coolest, most extravagant college that there was. I wanted to be a big-time athlete. So I visited 32 schools originally, and ended up deciding, well, it took a long time, but decided on University of Oklahoma, so like one of the biggest football schools that there was. And then after playing there for 2 years, decided that wasn't actually the case, and I didn't actually want to go to that school anymore. And I think that a lot of people struggle with that, even though you're supposed to commit when you're a sophomore in high school. Like, you can take your time, You can choose to change, even if you think that that's like the place you're supposed to be. So then I visited 3 or 4 more schools after that, and then decided to transfer to University of Washington after that. So it wasn't an easy decision all throughout the college experience that I had.
What so you had said that you really wanted to go to the biggest athletic program you could find, and OU is definitely that, where you talk about stellar facilities, stellar athletics. Talk about a little bit academics, with going to college and being a Division I athlete. What did your schedule look like? Why don't you take us through like a typical day at OU?
Okay. So at OU, you're waking up around 6 a.m., typically living with all your roommates. So you all get up at the same time and get in the car together, drive to practice, 6 a.m. You would probably hang out in the locker room for probably about an hour and then go out to practice. After practice, you all eat a meal together. And then from there, you go to class for whatever your schedule is. Everyone's schedules are different. And then typically in the evening, probably around 4 or 5, you would go back to the field and do video, do meetings, do something to do with soccer that wasn't on the soccer field, or you would have weight training. And that was it every single day. It was soccer was your life and is going to be your life in college, and it's great and you'll love it.
That being said, those of you that obviously aren't college athletes, during the fall you're limited. I think it's right now with the NCAA Division I, 20 hours a week on the field. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's
20 approximate. So you're limited in your season and the amount of time that you can be on the field, which is why Then you're not on the field. You're in the classroom, watching video, all of the other things.
Probably like 4 to 6 hours a day of being with your team in a team environment, and then you're with your team. You live with them and friends.
So let's talk about your playing time at OU, which I think will come to a surprise, some people as a surprise when Madi decided to leave. So you played 2 years at OU and then decided to transfer. A lot of times I think people assume you transfer because you're not playing, coach doesn't like you, all of those good things. That wasn't the case with you at all. So why don't you talk a little bit about that experience?
Okay. So it goes back. So committing to OU in the first place, I didn't commit to a full ride scholarship. That's something not a lot of people know. I had a little bit of a scholarship, but not a full ride. So getting there, I was like the underdog. In pictures, I was like on the outskirts of the pictures, and no one really thought about me as anyone. So just a freshman, like whatever. And then it was preseason. We had a game that we played, and it was like the lower half versus like the starters. And we like the second team versus the starters. And the second team beat the starters by like, it was like 5-0 or something crazy like that. And then after, I was walking back to my car and my coach came up to me, and right then and there I was granted a full ride scholarship. And it was like, even now I get chills saying that. But so then from there, I started and played every single game except for one. Played in the game, but didn't start that game. So it was 42 games as a freshman. But then didn't love the school itself. I think that's where my biggest downfall was.
Yeah. So you started and played every minute of every game, except you didn't start one game. And we're talking a Power 5 conference school. I mean, you're playing every game is, unbelievably hard. So, so you realized, at what point did you realize that OU wasn't a good fit for you?
Oh, I've never thought about it. When did I even decide that? I know that
I remember.
You do?
I do. I got a call from
oh no,
from another college that your dad had reached out to because you wanted to quit.
Yeah.
And this college called me and said, hey, I noticed, so-and-so's dad, had emailed me and said, Madi's interested in transferring. And that was news to me. And I think it was the early spring of your sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I remember calling you immediately and saying, what in the world? Like, you have played every minute. This is not Madi Kinzer. Like, this is, I mean, it was a shock to us. I mean, it would have been a shock to anyone that knew that about you. So, like, what was going through your, you personally, that, like, why did you not fall out of love with soccer at OU?
So I think I remember the exact moment that I made the decision. I went to a teacher's office to like ask her a couple questions, and I ended up being like 2 minutes late to our lift that day. And our trainer locked the door on me, and I couldn't get in. I was like, whew, and like something hit me. And then I just went for a walk and was like, had my notebook out, writing things down, called a bunch of people, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm done with this school. And I think that I did go through not wanting to play soccer. Where that came from, I don't even know where that came from. I think I wanted a life outside of soccer at that point. And I was just like, soccer was my world. Every minute of every day I thought about soccer. And at that point I was like, okay, I don't think that I want that anymore. So then had to confess to everyone that I wanted to transfer. No one knew. No, like the coach is not even like.
You played every minute. You're their starting center back.
Yeah. It was like.
No one expected their starting center back on a full ride to leave.
Yeah, no. I've never put thought into that, what actually came over me at that time. I think something came up and I realized that I could change in my life and I wasn't stuck. And so knowing that, and I was like, these are 4 years of my life that I can do whatever I want and I can achieve all these goals that I've always had, and I'm not stuck at this college. And so I switched it completely, flipped it on its head, and went to Seattle, University of Washington, which was the exact opposite. Everything about it was opposite. But it was also,
even though it's a Pac-12 school.
Yeah.
So you're talking still a very good women's soccer program, a very good athletic school. So tell us why that was different.
So it was, I went from Norman, Oklahoma to Seattle, one of the biggest cities in America. And I don't know what was, so the soccer itself was different. So the playing style was different. The mindset towards soccer was a lot different there. It was more people who were like, soccer was their life, but it was also like they had a healthy relationship outside of it too. And it wasn't so much that soccer was a job there, I think is what like kind of changed a lot of things too. And then I was like, oh, I could fall in love with soccer again. Cool. Like it felt like a job and now I can get out of that. And what else was super different there? Just the whole entire, everything about that school was different. And I was starting at the bottom again, which I needed that motivation to get back up to the top. Cause it was, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was, I had already achieved my goals and wanted a new goal to achieve in my life. Also.
Yeah, and so now it's the beginning of your junior year. You've transferred. You're now at the University of Washington. You've left a full ride at OU, a starting position. You've left everything that's comfortable or everything that as an athlete you think you have achieved. Like you said, like you have achieved it all. And then you get to roll it out, the next 2 years, but you were like, no, I need something different. So you transfer your junior, and now, like you said, you're fighting at the bottom. And so tell us about your playing time your junior year.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't. So I went there kind of being told that I would have a starting position, kind of being told that I'd have to earn it, and went there and sat on the bench. And I had never in my life sat on the bench, ever. And if I did, I was pissed off and I wanted to get back in the game. So I go there, and it was a crazy, humbling experience that I didn't know I would ever feel. Like, oh, this is the other side of it. Like, yeah, it made me question a lot of things that I had in life at that point. And so from there, I think I played in like 2 games that season or something like that. Started in 2 games or something like that. but then had an opportunity my senior year to earn the spot. It was not handed to me, had to earn it again. Ended up getting the starting spot on that, but I never ever have looked at the bench differently than going through that. There's a lot to say about people who are on the bench and get into the game.
So let's talk about that, because not every player here on this Zoom call is sorry, Evan, turn that off. Like hearing myself. But not every player that is a starter, especially coming out of Tucson, ends up sitting at a college. And so, like you said, that humbling experience. What did you learn that season? That you have changed your perspective on athletics and players and all of those different, how your worldview really.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely looked at the sport itself differently, because you were more of a teammate at that point. It's like I knew my junior year, I knew I wasn't going to play because there were 2 center backs, wasn't going to get in the game. So I had to figure out why I was playing soccer, what being a good teammate meant. Like, yeah, I had to hand them their waters during the break. I had to get them snacks if they wanted it during the break. I was the one rolling them out and stretching them. And during practices, I was the one who was on like the practice squad, and they were the starting lineup, and you had to go hard against them because they needed that. You kind of had to be a role player at that point. And yeah, it was the most humbling thing. And now I look at players who are on the bench, like even like the kids that I coach now and I train with now, it's like, use that as motivation now. Like you should be thankful that you're sitting on the bench now, and you can already have that feeling and that piece of humble pie to get yourself like back into the love of soccer and use that to get to be a better player altogether. Yeah.
So
on tangent there.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of players that
You're in this.
we have a lot of players that will leave Tucson and try and go play other places, and a lot of times they run into some challenges and they return home. What do you think is the biggest challenge with leaving Tucson, leaving Arizona to go play, and then having then fallen out of love and wanting to leave? What kept you from just coming back here as well, and even playing then locally?
I think I didn't want to be like everyone else at that point. I mean, till that point in Tucson, there weren't a lot of players there were a couple players who had made it big, but there were a lot of players who either stayed in the state or went somewhere for a year and then came back. And I was like, I don't want to be that. I know that I've been coached well enough that I can be a big time player, and I don't want to go back to Tucson after I was out of there.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge then to do that, to get yourself to stay, to leave and be able to be successful somewhere else in a different environment, dealing with the fact that it's a full-time job, that you've got school? Are there certain things or characteristics that you think would help some of the younger players to start working on and understanding when they want to make that kind of a transition?
I think you need to fully immerse yourself into soccer and the team and realize that, like, yeah, you might have left your family at home, but like you have a new family. I was never scared because I always knew that I had all my teammates there. It was like a lot of people are scared to get out of Tucson because that's their comfort zone, because like their family's there, they want to stay close to all their friends, but like it's 4 years of your life that you get to go experience something else. And I think that's why I stayed out of state for all those years too. I knew I could always come back if I wanted to, but experiencing 4 years with brand new people, bunch of new best friends that I made along the way. And I think that's what kept me from coming home.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had warned you we'd ask this question.
Okay.
Favorite memories from playing youth soccer, and then we'll get into favorite memories from college after that. But first, favorite memories with youth soccer.
Okay. So I was talking to my dad about this too, because he was at the game. Obviously, you guys were at the game. And I was thinking about when someone on the field, or we were playing in California, and one of their players had hurt someone. It might have been Priscilla.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
And then I remember that Justine just went and whatever she did to that girl and got a red card and was out of the game. And we were like, I remember like looking around and being like, whoa, like this just happened. Like that's what it's like to be a teammate. And like I literally at that moment I was like, oh yeah, this is our team. Don't mess with our team. Like it was that in that moment, I think I realized what a team was like outside of just playing soccer with a group of girls. It was like, no, that's like, you could say it's like family. You're like, no, you can't just hurt one of us. Like that's not how it is. And that's how it is with all your teams. You build these bonds and you're like, no, like that's not how we work here.
Yeah. Might have been in Chino, California. Yeah, we might have remembered that game.
Yeah, right. I know. And then the other one was what you kind of mentioned earlier is that when we were playing in that state cup final and Del Sol was always the better team and whatnot, and then we were beating them. Whatever you said the score.
Yeah,
was.
whatever Todd said the score is. Clearly, I don't know.
Great.
We won.
All I know is that Les Armstrong was waving his white
That's
towel.
what I was gonna say, and like that, like yeah, he was waving that towel around, and it was like, yeah, that was super cool to experience.
Yeah.
Like looking around, the same thing. It's like all these girls, like we made it, like because our team originally was not good. Like originally back like 4 years prior to that, it was not what the team was at that point. Yeah, so looking around, I'm like, oh, we can do this. Like we're actually good at soccer right now.
Yeah, and I think it's because you all, I mean, obviously you all worked hard, and the coaches that came before us, Kaz, Charlie Kendrick, Lisa, they all trained you guys so well and learned how to compete. But like you said, you guys were a family. You competed with each other. You competed against the best teams in the country. And just this podunk team from Tucson that comes and rolls through all the top teams in the country. And that was really, really fun to be a part of.
And we won't get into specifics, but that team also was such a family that even when a certain player was going through some really difficult times and situations, the team rallied around that player and did a lot to take care of that player in that moment of when they needed it most. And they needed this family, that team family, because other things were just keeping them from having that same kind of family structure. It's amazing how powerful a team can be and the way you guys rallied around each other in that moment.
Yeah, which was cool is we all came from different backgrounds too. Like all different types of backgrounds all across Tucson. It wasn't just the same area. I was in Oro Valley. People were in, I don't even remember all the cities over there, and some people were driving up from Phoenix. Yeah.
Phoenix too, yeah.
Yeah, so that team, I mean, we had a player from Phoenix that drove down that left all the top teams in Phoenix that came down and played for us, a player from Sierra Vista, a player from El Paso, and then players from all over Tucson. So talk about a special group. So what about your favorite college memory?
I think it was, I put some thought into this too a little bit. I think that one was just when I was at University of Oklahoma and beating Oklahoma State, but it was also the center forward on Oklahoma State was like, she's now on the Canadian national team and played in the World Cup, I think. But she was like, everyone was scared of her. Everyone was talking about her. Everyone was whatever, made a huge deal about her. And then I was the one who had to man mark her. I was able to like close her down and she was so mad, but then we ended up winning the game and it was filled with emotions at the point, huge dog pile at the end, crying. Everyone was freaking out all over the TV. Everyone was texting me after the game. That was huge for sure. And then another thing I was thinking of is, I think the first time I got stopped for an autograph was huge too in my career. Like, oh, cool. Like that, even right now, I kind of get emotional thinking about that, but it was like, cool. Like people look up to soccer players. Like that's awesome. Like you're impacting other people's lives that like want to have dreams like you and can see it, that it's possible at that point. Yeah, that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked a little bit. I had a question here. We had a question here for what was your biggest challenge coming from out of Tucson? But I think we've really talked about that, like just having that chip on your shoulder and proving everyone wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is there
A lot of people
anything
don't
that you want to add?
Yeah, well, it was, so I remember like the exact situation I was in when I was on the phone with someone and they said that, like, because you guys knew, like, I was telling everyone, I was like, I want to be this D1 player, go to this huge school, big soccer or big football program, big soccer program, be known across the world for that, what that college was. And then I remember getting a phone call from a different Tucson coach and was like, you realize that like Tucson players don't make it, like they're D3, D2 schools at best. And I was like, no, that doesn't have to be how it is. I promise you, it does not have to be how it is. And I can just picture myself like what I was looking at in my room when he said that. I was like, no, like, no. So that, yeah, for anyone who's questioning going out of state, I think that you shouldn't feel like you're stuck and you can go to the big name schools. You can do it. Even out of Tucson, a little Tucson.
Yeah. You're back in Tucson. Actually, I have a quick thing. If you guys that are watching, if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. I forgot to say that. So if you have questions for Madi, start putting them in the chat, and you can either put them to the host, to Javi, so that we can start answering them in a little bit. So you're back in Arizona now. So like you alluded to, like went away and then you decided like, oh, you know, what made you want to come back to Arizona?
Honestly, it was the weather. Yes. Okay, so I knew I wanted to get out of Tucson, but then I went and experienced tornadoes and snow and rain for 103 days. I think we set some record, 103 days of rain in Seattle in a row, no sun. So I wanted to come back to Arizona because you could play outside year round. And I also knew that I wanted to do some type of training, and I knew that Arizona was lucky enough you were able to train outside for free any day of the year. Some hours are different, but any day of the year you can train outside. So yeah, that was huge. And I should throw this out there. My family is still in Arizona, so get a little closer to them. They appreciated that.
Perfect. So I guess before we get into the questions, what advice do you have for players in Tucson?
Oh, it's deep. Okay. I think what I tell my players, just in Arizona in general too, is to not settle. Like you don't have these specific guidelines you have to follow. You can do anything you want, especially with soccer and whatever college you choose. Otherwise, I would say, like for me as a player, it's be the hardest working player on the field at all times. Always try to achieve that. If you have a day that you're not motivated at practice, just be the hardest working player on the field. Just set that goal every single day. I think that was huge. And it's with these times, it's putting in the extra work. So I had a wall in my house and I would just sit there and do headers against it for hours every single day. But those kind of things separated me from everyone else. I was known for my headers after that because I put in that work. So I think,
I think that at one of our tryouts or our placements for the 95s, I think you and one of our other players, Alexis.
Yeah.
How many times did you guys head juggle in a row?
515.
You don't forget that.
Don't forget that one. No.
Yeah, no. Hey, Javi, do you want to kind of sort through these questions and you can just kind of ask the questions from the players to Madi?
Sorry, yes, I can definitely do that. So our first question that we have is from Olivia44. Have you always played the same position? And if not, what other position did you play?
Okay, so I originally started as a forward, and then I think I played goalkeeper for a little bit. And then once I moved to club, I played center back from 6th grade until I graduated college.
Our next question is from Sebastian. What was your worst injury that you ever had?
I was one of the few. I got lucky and never really had an injury. Oh, sorry. Never really had an injury. The worst possible injury I had, I think, was shin splints, and that was that. But I'm rare, so a lot of people have the ACL tears, the ankle sprains.
And I think there's something to be said for that. Like when you look at players that are, that play for the national team that are 36 in their 30s, like they're just genetically different. I mean, they do, like Luis, take care of themselves. I mean, Luis is in the training room more than he's on the field, so there is a lot, but like you said, you were very, very fortunate to not really ever have a major injury. I'm surprised you didn't get a concussion from your 515 juggles.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I probably had a couple concussions in there.
Yeah, probably.
We just don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Leif Turi. What was the biggest obstacle you ever had to overcome?
I think it was definitely proving people who doubted me wrong. And then finding myself on the bench was the biggest obstacle, being that newcomer, and I was a junior in college and I wasn't playing on the field. So that was a huge obstacle for me, is trying to figure out a way to get back on the field. Gotta end these over.
Following that question, we have a question from Caitlin Lopez. What kinds of things did you do to prepare to play college soccer off the field?
Oh, I like it. Okay. To prepare, so you have to understand that you are on your own. You have to prioritize things. So soccer could be the center of your life, but you also have school and friends and your nutrition and your fitness outside of soccer. So balancing all of those and figuring out my priorities was huge for me. Definitely preparing mentally, I guess I could go with that too, is just setting dreams and always visualizing myself where my dreams took me. So that's kind of a fun preparation off of the field.
Madi, you were one of the first that consistently lifted. And you and Caitlin, I mean, you were blessed with a great weightlifting coach that really taught you to value lifting. And you did that probably your sophomore year. Is that right? In high school?
That's when I competed in a weightlifting competition. But yeah, I found just throw that in there. Definitely found, I think I started weightlifting in 8th grade, but then realized how important it was for my body, and like I would become a better soccer player if I add muscle to my body, or add explosiveness. And so I found my heart in that. So me and Caitlin Lopez, who asked that question, we would get up in the morning before school and would work out, or right after school we'd be in the gym with lifting weights. And when I got to college, the trainers were like, oh, you know how to lift weights. Okay, like you're gonna be the demo. Like no one here knows how to lift weights. And I was at a big college. Like it was weird to me that no one else knew what I was doing. And so I was able to then separate myself in that aspect, like in college, and I was noticed for that too. So definitely finding yourself a trainer. There's a lot of trainers now that can teach you that, or just Googling it, how to do different weights, just so you have the knowledge behind it as well. Or take advantage of classes in high school that you can take weightlifting classes. Yeah.
Our next question is from Sydney Lenhart. How did you balance sports and academics in college?
Okay, so in college, we had tutors, which that was very helpful. What was also nice is having your teammates all going through the same thing as you, where like you're in random classes with your teammates, so you can kind of work together on different, like you could study together, you have study breaks, you have I don't remember what they call it, the like academic center for athletes. So you're all in the same boat, but you also have tutors. You have a lot of resources in college that can help you achieve your academics at the same time as athletics. It's not easy. You have to take your tests on the road in if you have a soccer game on Friday, on Saturday, you're taking a random test in front of your coach, just sitting there taking the test because you have to get it turned in by the end of that day. So you definitely have to find a balance between both of them. Hopefully that answered your question.
Our next question is from Savannah. Did something ever happen to you outside of your soccer life that changed how you played?
Oh, changed how I played. I think that when I first started soccer, it was me not making a team. I didn't even know if I really wanted to play soccer when I didn't make that team, but not making that team, even though that is kind of still in the realm of soccer, but not making that team, I was like, okay, I'm going to make that my life goal, is to prove that person wrong. And look back in 4 years and be like, yeah, I achieved that. It ended up being like my goal. Yeah, it came from someone else, but it ended up being my goal in the end. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, good.
Because
If you could pick a different position, which one would you play? And that's from Casey.
Okay, I like it. Because obviously I only played center back my whole life, so I had these thoughts. Or I play in a men's league. Not now, but a couple months ago I played in a men's league, and I did not find myself at center back as often. I would play outside right back or outside left forward. Clearly I put a lot of thought into that.
Okay, why left forward? Why would you play left forward?
I don't know. That's where I played in my men's league. I just found myself out there. I think it was beating people with my left foot because I was able to use both feet, and no one really expects that. And I would want to score goals. And as a center back, you guys, whoever plays center back out here probably knows that it's not the most glamorous of all positions. And if you make a mistake in a game and you get scored on, it's typically you look at your center backs as the people who messed up. So I would go to a position like a forward where I can score some goals, even though you can score goals as a center back with your head. But yeah, it's a fun one.
Our next question is from Chris Mitchell. Have you ever cried if you lost a championship game?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Okay. For you guys, I don't know if you guys were my coaches during the PKs. You guys
No, I don't think so.
heard all about that, right?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that one.
Okay. In the state, Caitlin's shaking her head. In the state championship game, I don't even know how old I was.
It was Caitlin's seat. You were a junior. Is that the game you're talking about, like high school or club?
Oh, no, club. So I was probably a freshman or in 8th grade. State championship game, we go down to PKs, and it is everyone has made it, and I am the 6th kicker, and I miss, and they score, and we lose the state championship. And then the following year, that same situation happened. We were in the state championship, or we might have been semifinals. I was the now 9th kicker, and and I missed. But something I took from that, yeah, I have a fear of PKs now, but something I took from that is after both of those games, my coach at the time took me aside and was like, hey, we wouldn't, it doesn't matter. It's one kick. We wouldn't be here without you. And that's always stuck with me. But yes, I definitely cried during all that.
Cosgrove said that wasn't him. That was Charlie Kendrick that said that to you.
No, like both of them. Oh.
Okay, so going back, I was thinking that you were going to say your high school state championship. I think it was your junior year that you guys played at PKs against Catfoot.
Yeah, the difference there is I was the only one who made my PK.
Yeah, am I allowed to pitch in on that question? That was a rough one.
And it was to Catalina Foothills.
I think it was Madi Kinzer was the only player to take a PK that was not a senior. And like she said, she was the only one to make her PK. And it was the semifinals against Catfoot.
Yeah.
And that was a sad day.
10 years later. All right, keep going, Javi.
Our next question is from Sophia. What was the biggest championship game you have ever played?
Oh, biggest ever. So I went with University of Washington. I went to the NCAA. What did we go to? I think it was the second round, and that was probably the biggest game I've ever been in. And then with Oklahoma, it was making the Big 12 tournament. I think we made it to the finals and lost in the finals. So that was probably the biggest. Championship game wise, though, I think it was probably State Cup, and we won. So it's good. That feels good to win championships games.
A question from Jason. What was your favorite part of your career?
Oh, favorite part of my career. That is intense. Maybe it will be senior night. I think it was senior night and just reliving everything that I went through, like processing, like having that talk with my family the day of and being like, wow, like this is coming to an end. Like been through so much, so many emotions, I played for 19 years, soccer for 19 years. And at that night, that was the end of it. So that was probably the moment in time that it all hit me. And that was the biggest point of my career, probably.
Hey, Javi, there's a question in here I saw, and I don't know where it is, but somebody had asked about the recruiting process and what your recruiting process was, and then, just what that was.
Okay, so I think I started the recruiting process my early junior year, maybe end of sophomore year. And it was me creating a video and then reaching out to tons and tons of coaches. I made a list. I think I probably sent it to Amy or Todd. And it was like, oh, maybe that was transferring, but it was like 160 schools or something like that. And I was like, these are all the ones that I'm okay with. And these are all the ones that are at the top of my list. And then I starred a bunch of them and made sure I emailed all of the starred ones. And then once it hit junior year, that's kind of when we started communicating with the actual colleges, and you would hear randomly about a college being interested in you, or you'd get letters or emails. And then making a video of some of the games I was playing and some of my highlights. That's kind of where the recruiting process went. And then 32 visits. I think out of those, there were, I don't remember how many official visits I did. I think altogether I did 7 with transferring. I think it like 7 official visits. So that's where you go to the college campus and the college coach pays for everything, and you meet the team, and you kind of it's like, I think you can spend 24 hours on campus, just kind of like living through like a day in the life. You like live with one of the girls or a couple of the girls or players there. You meet with the coaches, you talk about goals, you talk about scholarship a little bit here and there, and kind of see if you want to go there. I think looking at that, you don't want to think like, do they want me there? Because I think that's kind of where my mind just went. But I think it's better to think, do I want to be coached by these people? Do I want to live here and experience this life that these girls or boys are already experiencing? But college, the recruiting part of it was, as long as you set a goal, make a huge goal, make a list of colleges that you want to see you play and that you want to be in contact with, and then try to contact every single one of those. Don't be lazy with that.
And one thing that you had said, that you initially had probably 160 schools on that list. That means that you and the other school mutually, 159 of them said no. One of you said no. Either the school said no to you or you said no to the school.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Like, it just takes one college.
Yeah. Yeah, not settling, because there are a lot of colleges. Division I, too. You can choose a Division I school, even if it's small. If you want to play soccer in Division I, you can make it there. So don't take those off your list because you think you can't make it there as well. That's a huge side of it too. And it's kind of doing research. I think what I learned with emailing coaches is doing the research about the school. You don't have to go too in depth, but have an idea about what you're talking about. What is she doing down there?
She's eating, so we're giving her a hard time.
She's eating? Oh. Well, yeah. What's the...
Sorry, Caitlin, to call you out in front of all these people.
Keep going.
Our next question is from Sienna. How was it having roommates in college? Was it fun?
Yes, it is very fun. It's different because you live with your best friends and the people, like your teammates, you live with them now. So you go to the grocery store with your teammates and you make you design your own place that you want to live in. We lived in dorms. I think we lived in dorms our whole freshman year, and then sophomore year you moved into an apartment, but you live the same life, which is kind of nice, as a bunch of other girls. So you can talk to them about everything, you can relate to them, you know when to get up, they're kind of your alarms, you can struggle together if someone's not getting enough playing time, someone hated that fitness test, etc. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. You're living with your best friends.
Our next question is from Sebastian. What players did you mainly look up to as a kid?
Oh, as a kid, I think it's definitely the U.S. national team is like, that was kind of always the dream, and you always looked up to those players. Right now, it's definitely looking up to like Becky Sauerbach as a center back. I never really had someone specific. I think Carly Lloyd was definitely at the top of my list of players that I looked up to on the field, not as like some flashy player, but as a player that worked really hard. Or of course, like Messi. And yeah, so
And our last question for the night. Has soccer helped you as an adult?
Yes, 100%. It has helped me as an adult. I take what I learned with soccer about setting goals and then achieving those goals on a daily basis now, and not settling for less in anything in my career now, in where I live, who I hang out with. It's never settling for less. It's always working hard to make myself happy. Working hard with big emphasis on working hard to make myself happy, and setting those goals and achieving those goals is what I learned through soccer. Yeah,
that's awesome. So kind of wrapping up everything, what do you do currently? What are you it's your life now since you're not in college anymore?
So now I started my own business as a soccer personal trainer. So even right now I train 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 players. We meet at a random field and we train together. And then I also do in my personal trainer in a gym. And yeah, I don't know if you guys can see my website do they have access to see the back page?
Just tell me, or Javi can type it into the chat. What is it again?
So my website's MadiKinzerTraining.com. So if any of you guys are in the Scottsdale or Phoenix area, we can meet up and I can train you especially during this time with quarantine or isolation is what we should probably call it. It's definitely good to still be out there and have a coach that's out there with you. Okay, good. He just posted that. Or if you're in Tucson and you don't have motivation or you want some sort of plan, go ahead and go to my website and just email me, and I have a plan that I can give out to you. It's a 4-week plan that you can do every day. There's check boxes that you can check off, kind of hold yourself accountable. Yeah, or if you just have questions, just reach out to me on that website or Instagram.
So when we started this off, right before everybody came on, we kind of gave you a hard time and said that Luis Robles went last week, and no pressure to have to fill in behind that sort of power. But Madi, you did a great job tonight, and really good information and really powerful information for everybody. And like Javi said, I think we had more people on tonight than we did last week. So praise to you and that power. But thank you for doing this. I think this has been great for everybody involved.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks for everyone for logging in. And I think next week we have next week. Henry Bronner will be on next week. But thank you guys so much for coming on. and listening to Madi's experiences and stories. Follow up with her website if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Madi.
Bye.
Guys.
Thank you.